Yes, it's John G. Sutton. Tales from the Jails. Thank you to all of you for making comments, kind comments, critical comments, aggressive comments. Not too sure about the insulting comments, but hey, free speech, exercise it. Today I'm going to talk about the ghost train. The ghost train is not exactly a train, because we're not talking about an amusement park, Blackpool Fun Fair, or anything like that. The ghost train in Her Majesty's prisons consists of inmates being removed from the prison they're in to another prison at the other side of the country, very often hundreds of miles away. And what happens is inmates may decide that they're going to cause disruption or plot some kind of insurgence against the prison or the prison staff or the good order and discipline of the institution in which they're placed. And word gets back to the governor and the security staff, and it's decided that the inmate will be removed. And the ghost train consists of a number of staff, however many it takes. You know, if it's a particularly large, aggressive inmate, then it might take 4, maybe 5 staff. If it's just an ordinary Joe Soap who's just think he's clever and he's going to cause disruption, 2 or 3 staff. But when about 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, no knocking on the door, by the way, unlocked, cell door opens, staff in, snatch the inmate out of the bed, they grab his clothes, whisk him away, he can get dressed in the back of the van. His property remains in the cell until such a time as the following day it's put together, boxed up and sent on to the prison where he's been removed to. Now, you might be in, say, somewhere like Armley Jail, you know, it's just as a matter of interest. Armley Jail. You've arranged visits from your family, you've got doctor's appointments, you're having all the rest of it, you're having treatment, all that, it doesn't matter at all. If you are involved in any kind of interaction, negative interaction with the institution, then, and the institution hears about this, and very often it's something like a whisper to one of the staff, and they'll have a look at it, and if they think so, then they'll kick it upstairs, and the decision's made. 4 o'clock in the morning, the boys go in, open the door, snatch you, drag you out into the back of the van, and off you go. Now, you could very well end up on the Isle of Wight in Parkhurst. You could end up in Wandsworth, Pentonville, Wormwood Scrubs, right down south from Armley Jail. So you're 200 or 300, maybe 400 miles away from where you started. And if when you get down there, say Parkhurst, and you decide that you're not happy with this, and decide that you're going to make some further complaints, then round about 4 o'clock one morning in the unforeseeable future, a team go in and relocate you, snatch you, drag you out, throw you in the back of the van and drive you across the country, usually in handcuffs, one on each hand to 2 members of staff, just in case you decide that you want to try and make some kind of statement. And the problem is with trying to make a statement against being ghost trained out is that the staff that they send will be appropriate. So if you're a particularly big, strong, aggressive, violent man, then you might get 4 staff and you'll be attached either hand in handcuffs to 2 rather industrial size units that wear hats and carry big sticks. Jailers, yeah? Now, there's no way you're going to fight against this. You can do, but in that event, of course, there's always a duty hospital officer who will be only too willing to dial up the duty doctor and ask for advice. And it may be that that advice is that you need to be forcibly sedated. Now, as a hospital officer, if I receive the instructions from a doctor to forcibly inject you with Largactil or whatever other sedative they decide that you may need for your benefit, then that is what will happen. You can't really fight. You can fight against it, but always there'll be sufficient force to enable a benevolent, kind, caring hospital officer such as myself to carry out their duties. And I knew an inmate, whose name I will tell you at the end. He was relocated time after time after time, flirted all around the prison system, and during his time in the system as a prisoner, he was located in 52 different prisons. Some prisons he'd arrive at, and obviously they didn't want him because he was a disruptive, dangerous influence who would likely attract followers who would want to latch onto his coattails and kick up with some kind of maybe a rooftop demonstration, because this particular inmate had conducted rooftop demonstrations, had issued proceedings against governors, issued proceedings against the government, and was a particularly intelligent, not a particularly large individual, but much more dangerous than somebody who's big and physically aggressive, because he was highly educated and had facilities to issue proceedings through friends in higher places, shall we say. And don't believe me, I mean, you can ask him, he knows me. Mark Leach, look his name up, wrote a book called The Prison's Handbook. And in the, I think it's the 1997 edition, it was published in numerous editions, the 1997 edition, part of that is written by me, because I helped Mark get a publisher, highly intelligent man, you see, despite being extremely dangerous. But I only knew him after he left the prisons. But he told me that he'd been ghost trained all around the system, and he said there's no point in fighting. When you get there, you can start proceedings against them for doing what they're doing, but you'll not stop them, because before your writ hits the courts, you'll be moved to another prison. Extremely unpleasant system, and you know, your property gets left behind. All people who are going to visit you are notified when they get there. So as we started at the beginning, say you're at Armley Jail and at 4 in the morning you're on the ghost train out of there, they'll tell you, the people who are coming to see you, when they arrive, that you've moved. So your wife could turn up, maybe travelled 200 or 300 miles from London, only to find out that you're on the Isle of Wight. Or if you're not on the Isle of Wight, you're in Wandsworth. Or if you're not in Wandsworth, you're in Birmingham. Or Strangeways. The ghost train, yeah. World in Action did a programme about it. I was featured on it. Yeah, I took part in numerous ghost train movements. The Cat A ones were the most difficult, because you had outriders. You had police outriders, 2 motorbikes, 2 at the back, 2 at the front, and you went everywhere you went in a van, flat out. Quite an experience. You get thrown all over the place in the back of one of them. Yeah, ghost trains, Category A productions, extremely. I mean, it's like seeing something. You might have seen the Sweeney or No Hiding Place, stuff like that, where they're flying along through the streets. That's what they're doing. Yeah. So the idea is, if you're in the prison, just do your bird, head down. Don't let anybody think you're plotting. If you're going to do something, do it. Don't tell anybody about it, because if you do, it'll get back to somebody in the hierarchy who decides that you're going on an excursion via the ghost train. John G. Sutton, that's me. Please subscribe. Tales from the Jails.